Well, today we are going to make a triangle rack of pool balls, the cue ball, and we are going to do a little finishing touch on our cue sticks. So stay tuned and see how fun and easy this project is. All right, we're going to start by getting the balls for the pool table made. And I am using these seed beads. Now these are approximately 4 millimeters in diameter. I'm using these because they're a good size. From what I could tell from trying to translate the size of the real ones into miniature, this is approximately the right size. And I have a ton of them. I've had this bag of beads for forever, and I'm finally down to here. And I have been using these for several years. But I got these at Walmart, so I will have a picture of the label on them in the blog post. So off camera, I have started by putting 7 of them onto toothpicks. I've got round toothpicks. Now I want you to know that doing this off camera, I had absolutely no trouble getting these on, and now I'm going to sit here and not be able to do it. All right, so I'm putting them on pretty firmly onto the end of a toothpick. And the first batch we're doing all the white ones. The white ones will become the cue ball, which will stay white, and then we'll also have these 7 that will have the stripe, the color stripe on them. I am painting, even though they're white beads, I am starting by painting them with white paint. I've got white acrylic paint here, and what I want to do is just roll these around and coat them in paint. And I'll probably have to put the lid on here and shake it a bit to get enough paint on there, but I want to coat them with some paint. I want each bead to have paint on because it will help it to be the right texture and help me to have the color stripe go on and stay on. So I'm going to get these all painted. When they are dry, I will come back and we will go on to adding the stripes to 7 of them. So I'll see you then. All right, the white paint has dried, and I did the red one here off camera. We're going to add the stripes, and I'm okay with how that looks. So I did the red one simply so I could see if my idea was going to work. So I picked out the 7 colors of paint to match the 7 colors that online told me were the correct colors for our painting these. And I'll show you on a couple of them. I am using these little disposable, really tiny brushes. They were labeled as dental disposable bendable micro applicators, 1.5 millimeters. I bought them on eBay. That's what the auction was called. I wrote it on the back so I remember. So I'm going to do 1 or 2 on camera, and then I'll do the rest off because it's going to just be the same process over and over. So I'm dipping the brush, and those are really, really cheap. So I don't mind using them up quickly on this. Brace your hand, especially if your hands shake like mine tend to sometimes. I'll get you down a little closer. And then I'm just kind of going around. And if I get too far off, I can always wipe the paint off and start over or touch up the white later. But this way we have our stripe on the ball. I will do one more. And I will have pictures on the blog post of the colors I'm using so that you can check, but you can use any color paints you have that match the colors. You don't have to have the specific color brand that I have to do this. But if you hold your hands pretty still and just turn the toothpick that's in here around, you're gonna get a fairly straight stripe. So I will finish these up. I will let these dry, and when they're all dry, I'll come back and we'll do the solid colored ones. All right, now we're going to do the solid color set. And I've done the same thing with 8 more beads on toothpicks. And I've got my 7 colors plus black paint here. And I'm going to one at a time pull these off. And this is going to get messy. I do have a wet wipe next to me, and I've got a whole package of wet wipes open next to the, also to the side, so I can, you know, clean my fingers off. Because you do need to kind of smooth that out a bit. I mean, you could probably use a brush to do that, but my fingers are here, and I don't have to go. I don't have to clean 8 brushes every time. Because the little micro brushes would be very difficult to do the whole bead, I think. So I am going to continue through, and it's all right to get paint onto the toothpick. That will actually help us because we are going to be trimming these and cutting the toothpick to stay in our bead. That's fine. So I am going to coat each of these with paint. Once the paint is dried, I'll come back, we'll do the next step, and continue on. All right, the solid colored ones are off to the side where the paint can continue to cure and get completely dry, and I've pulled back the ones I painted the stripes on. I've got another micro brush and my white paint, and I'm going to very carefully paint a white dot on each of these, right kind of in the middle of that band. So as usual, I won't make you watch me do all of these. When I get these done and those solid ones have had time to set up a little longer, I'm going to come back off camera and put a dot on each of those also. That way we'll be ready for the next step, which will be putting a clear finish on these, and then we can cut them off the toothpick. So I will be back when it's time to put a clear finish on. All right, all of the balls have their white dots on them. Now, you could put numbers on. If you've got some way to write a number that small, you could try putting the numbers on these. There's lots of pictures online to show you what numbers go in what colors. I'm not going to do that. I am going to put a clear finish on now, though, and I'm going to use a clear nail polish. This is from Dollar Tree. It's a nice cheap nail polish. And since my little rack here I've got only holds 12, only has room for 12 of them, the other 4 I'm just putting, I am holding with some of my Dollar Tree clamps. That way they'll stay put and I can get everything done at once. Just make sure they don't touch each other. And don't worry about getting it onto the toothpick. That's fine. So I'm going to put a nice coat of clear on here once the clear dries, which since this is a fairly quick drying nail polish, it won't take very long to dry. But once I know it's completely dry, I'll come back and we will trim these off of the toothpicks. So I'll see you then. Now that our clear finish has dried, I'm going to clip these loose from the toothpicks. And I like to use claw trimmers. These are an inexpensive set of claw trimmers I have. The thing I like about claw trimmers is they are designed to cut things that are round, shaped, and hard, mainly cat and dog claws. So they don't flatten out your toothpicks or your round dowels, wooden skewers, whatever. And they're safer. Please don't use scissors. Scissors, cutting toothpicks, and things like that can be very, very dangerous. And I see people on YouTube doing it all the time, and I just cringe every time because it can be very dangerous. So I am going to just cut mine free, and then they're going to be permanently glued into the triangle-shaped rack. The only one that won't will be the white one, and I'll kind of finish the ends that I cut off if I decide I need to. I'll see how they look. But the rest of them, I'm going to glue them in such a way that you won't be able to see the cut areas. So this one is going to be, and I might have to kind of fiddle, but I'm not going to make you watch me do all of this. Hold it close. get it snugged up right there as close as you can, and have a container, because then it will be caught. And then straight into here. So I'm going to get all of these cut, and then I'm going to do some setup, so I'll be ready to make the rack, and that will be our next step. I'll be right back. All right, I have been thinking about how to do this triangle-shaped rack with the balls glued into it. And what I've decided, mine's going to have a solid bottom, mainly because I'm going to glue mine all in and keep them glued in here, because I don't want these all loose in my miniature collection. I want to be able to have everything put where it goes. The white ball is the only one that will not be glued in, because that is the cue ball, and that will be used, that I will at some point probably glue it to the top of the pool table. So I am going to use super glue. Not necessarily the best glue, but the best glue I had to glue plastic down to anything. I know paper and super glue are not a great combo because it's so porous, but I think it'll be okay because this is a fairly shiny cardstock, fairly smooth, and cardstock that is not, it's not super porous, it's not super rough. So I am going to look for the ball I want. I'm going to very carefully place this in such a way, using my tweezers, so that I don't super glue my fingers to what I'm doing. And I'm not going to have you watch me do this, because this is going to take me a while to do. I'm going to try and line it up with that pencil line that I made on the paper, so that I have an idea of how that I've got this all straight. So I am going to turn the camera off. I am going to probably put some music on, and I am going to glue the first row down, and then I'm going to glue the remaining rows in. I'll do it all off camera, because this is going to take forever to pick these up with the tweezers. But when I have these all glued down and they're set, I will come back and we'll start working on the next step. All right, now this glue is set up pretty well. It's probably completely dry, I'm not sure. I cut a strip of the same paper that's 1/8 of an inch wide. And it's just the length of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of form this around this shape. And I'm going to cut it just shy of what I want, what it needs to be there, so that I've got enough that I have an overlap on the bottom. I think I'm going to lose my voice today, so hopefully I can get this done before I do. And I notice most of these have fairly round corners, so I'm going to just kind of wrap it around like that. And now I have 2 glues out. I have some tacky glue, and I still have my super glue out. So I'm going to put a couple of dots of super glue on key areas here, mainly on the balls at the corners. And then, if I get the lid on that, I've got one of the toothpicks I cut off of one of the beads. Oh, geez. And which was the end? Okay, this end. I am going to, and I've got super glue on my finger, I'm going to spread glue all the way the length of this. And also on that edge that's going to go down. And it's sticking to my finger because I have just the tiniest bit of super glue on there. All right. Now, going to form that to it. And I'm going to let that tacky glue dry so that when that glue is dry, we can come back and we can trim this off with just the tiniest bit of a border. So I'll be back when that dries. All right, I think my glue is dry enough that I can do this now. And I'm just going to, I'm not going right up against this. I'm going just a little bit away. A little further away on that side so I can get this off of here. And you notice I tried to make it as close to the bottom as I could and still have space all the way around. Remember, when you're moving things, move the project and not the scissors, and you'll do a better job. And use your paper scissors. All right, and that is how mine are going to be. That way that can go on the pool table and not have the little pool balls all over. I've got one thing I want to do to the cue sticks that we made last week, and then we can look at the projects, the accessories all together. All right, and one of my lovely viewers, I forgot who it was, but she mentioned on the last week's video where we made the cue sticks that I'd missed a step. That actually there should be a little tiny blue at the bit of blue on the end where a cue stick has been chalked. And I looked online, it looked like a lot of them had a little metal sleeve or a plastic sleeve and then the blue tip. So I decided, these are premium cue sticks, I'm sure. Some of them had white, looked like plastic, and then some of them had like a gold color. So I decided I am going to do just the tiniest amount of gold. Just run them around. Whoops. Trying to do this without my hand shaking. Get some paint on here. Just a very thin amount of gold. And then when this dries, I'll come back. I'm going to do all four. Will they fit? No, they won't fit there. I'm going to get all four of these just barely tipped. Let's see if I can dip them. Oh, that's better. Just a little bit. So a very tiny, shallow dip into some gold paint to make that little metal part that will be holding the end. And then when this is dry, I'll come back and we will put that little blue tip on them, and then we can see everything with the pool table. So I'll be right back. All right, for the blue chalked area, I wasn't sure exactly what color blue to go with. I just grabbed this one. I couldn't tell online what color exactly I should be using. I think what I'm going to do, instead of trying to dip it there, got a scrap of this tan paper. I'm going to do that. I am going to take one of these mini toothpicks I have cut off here. I'm going to spread that out so I have just a very thin coat of paint there. And then I'm going to very carefully dip that so we have just a little blue on the end. So hopefully those will look a little better, be a little more acceptable. And thank you again to the kind person that told me about that, because I have no idea. I'm learning along with you guys. This has been one of my favorite projects, even though I know it's not getting as many views as some of the others. It's one of my favorites because I'm having to do research and learning new things. And I love that. All right, so I'm going to let that part dry, and then we can look at all of this together. And there we have our finished racked balls, the cue ball, and the completed pool cue sticks. I love how these turned out. I think this is, like I said earlier, this has been one of my favorite projects of late. So I hope you've enjoyed the project. Be sure and check the blog post for photos and more information. If you enjoyed today's project, be sure and hit the like button, leave me a comment. What kinds of things would you like to see in future projects? If you enjoy my content and haven't subscribed, be sure and hit that subscription button and the notification bell so you know when I put up a new video. Thank you very much for watching today, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.